it's Amelie. Today we're going to work on the Faure Fantasie, and we're going to do so with the Tomplay app. So you can go on tomplay.com if you're interested in buying different pieces. So you can either pay I think it's a monthly fee, and you have access to their whole catalog, or you can just buy the pieces you're working on.
Yeah, I think you can buy all separate. Yeah, like I think they're all separate. In fact.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you have to buy each piece individually.
Yeah.
Okay, so whatever, you buy the pieces that you're working on, and then you get the separate parts. So the flute part, the piano part, and both together. So you can listen to them and play along. So the way we're gonna work with it today is I'm gonna use only the piano track, but when you're working with it, you can work with the flute part, and then you can work with both and follow the other flutists. Especially if you have rhythm problems, it's a good idea to just put the recording with the flute and follow the rhythm and just read it, so you get to understand it better. I do that with my students now more and more, and they understand rhythm better that way. It's like a visualization before you do it. So you listen to the whole piece, and you look, where the beats are. So yeah, if you have any question about the piece while we're working on it, just ask them in the live stream, the chat, and I'll answer them right away. And if there are questions that are a bit more in general about the flute, I'll answer them at the end probably. Okay, so I'll just start and see how it goes. So, I think I forgot how much, phrases are pretty long, and makes it makes it a bit tough for the air, so I'm gonna work on that, seeing where I can breathe. Also, it's a work, it's a tool to work on music, so there's no rubato involved in playing with the piano. For example, at 35 usually I would play and then the piano would just follow there, but because the piano is not gonna wait for you, it's pre-recorded, you have to play it in tempo. But you know, I wouldn't worry about that if you're really practicing, let's say, to play with a real person later, and you want to do a little retardando there, you can do it, and the pianist will follow you because the piano has 35. Wait, 35. The piano is not playing much. Wait, okay, it's here. Yeah, so you see, it plays. It doesn't play on the sixth, eighth note of the bar, so it can wait for you and catch you on your high E. So, yeah, but with the recording, you have to play in rhythm. But in real life, I would do a little retardando there. I'm gonna play a little bit without the piano, and then we'll do it again with it. Okay. Also for dynamics, might be a bit different, you know, because also that's another thing. They're not gonna follow you with dynamics, but still you should play them, even if the piano is not that soft in the soft. Like, play it soft, so you get the good habits, you know. Okay. I think the first note, I'm not gonna tongue it. I'm just gonna go right away. So make sure everything's in place, you know. Sometimes people are not really prepared, and then there's a movement after they play, and then the sound comes out. So just put your mouth the way it is when the sound comes out right away instead of moving it. So I don't know if that was clear. Yeah? Okay. Okay, so I don't think I need to breathe before 7. I don't think I took a breath there. But if you need one, at 6, you can shorten the first note, that slurred, that slurred A, and breathe there. That would be a good spot. And then at 8, between the two E's, you can breathe there. Also, you have a big slur, and then you have staccato and legato. Okay, so those staccatos are not staccato, they're portamento. That means it's like detached but a bit heavy. And the other slurs, they're slurs like ta, but that big one that's above it all, let's say at bar 3 and 4, that's more like phrasing slur. Okay, so it's a phrasing indication, and the other things are articulation indication. So when you have a big one above, it's the phrasing, and the other ones are more about what to do with your tongue. Okay, so I'm gonna do that again. Okay, so I try to change the colors there a little bit. I use different things. So I use vowels to change the colors, and I use dynamics too, so it makes it more interesting. And then I use vibrato in an expressive way, which means vibrato is not always part of my sound, but it's an expressive tool. So sometimes I won't vibrate, and sometimes I start a note and then I start vibrating after. Sometimes I start vibrating and then I stop. You can play with it to add to the interest, because you're the only timbre with the piano there, so you have to change the timbres because you don't want to have just one flute sound. Yeah. Is there any question?
Questions for later, for like some questions
Okay.
about different things some people are saying a lot of great things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's good. Yeah. So really, the phrasing is important because you want to do those dynamic changes and everything, but you don't want to lose the long phrase by doing so. You don't want to chop your phrase. So yes, you have to think horizontally for the phrasing, so you don't get cut in the flowers of the carpet. You know, you don't fall on those things. Okay, I'll continue. I think I was at bar 26, I think, or 25 in that. Okay, I'll go from 20 here. Okay, here I think what I'll do, I won't do the decrescendo too fast, so I'll go from that 26, just a little bit before 26. And that forte, you just need to open everything. Open everything, let the air out, let it vibrate in your body. Okay, and here I did a little retardando that with a pianist we would be able to do together, the da 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 da, but with the app I'll play it straight when I'll play it with the app. And I don't know if you noticed, but on 28 I start the bar and I try to start the bar still forte, because if you know, when you have a decrescendo, you don't start piano, you start forte, and then you know, if you start it too soon, then it's not a decrescendo, it's a subito piano. So I start the bar, and especially that there, the F sharp is not part of the chord. It's appoggiatura, and that means that it's interesting to press on it a little bit, because that's what's making tension. So you want to stress that tension a little bit, and then you get the release, the sense of release. So you see here. Okay, so I think that was clear. So I continue. Am I supposed to go louder? I don't think so. It's piano the whole time. You see here, I was not satisfied with that trill and the ending, so I just tried to observe what was going on without judging it, just like, what's going on? Oh, okay. And then I realized if I bend my thumb a little bit, it moves a bit faster than if it's like this. So I bend it a little bit when I trill, so I remembered to do that. And I just listened to make sure I heard the ending of that trill right, you know, and you do it a few times, and you know, that's how sometimes I work, just trying to be aware of what's going on, with no, you know, with no stress, just being aware and trying to figure out or remember, oh, how do I correct this usually? Or, you know, what does my teacher say? You know, you're playing and your sound gets more thin, and your teacher usually says to uncover a little bit. Well, you know, those are things you have to think about when you're practicing. I'll do that whole part again from 31 because I want to see if I will be able to do that trill well with what's coming before that. Yeah, so it's poetic, that part. Now I guess at 31 some people will have to work on that for the fingers. So I would say start slowly with a metronome and build it up. You can also change the articulation, so you can practice it all detached. And then slur it by 2. You can change the rhythms. Like this. Long, short, long, and then you can do short, long, short, long. Then you can do 1 long and 3 short. Then you can do 3 short and 1 long. All types of things. You can do all double tonguing. All types of ways to practice it. And if that part is more difficult, you don't have to practice the whole thing all the time. Sometimes you can just practice that. You put your metronome and you practice that, and then you'll have to put it back in context. But it's going to be more efficient than if you play everything slower and build it up. You might have the same thing going on for at 35 when you go. You can do that part backwards, so you go normally and then you come back. Those types of things. And also just understanding what's going on. Like at 35, it's always the same notes coming back. So it's F sharp, A, C, E. And that's it. It's that chord. And then you add a D at the end, but it's just a passage note. It's not part of that chord. So if you see it like that as a group, it's easier for your brain than to see each note individually and learning them individually. It's like, at 31, 32, it's a lot of chromaticism, but some spots are not chromatic. So yeah, you'll have to be careful with that. Yeah. Okay, so is the first part clear for people?
Yeah,
There's no question?
People love it. Yep, seems to be like people love it. We have a lot of questions about other stuff at the end of the live stream.
Okay. So maybe I go on the second part now? Or should I replay the first part with the...
Maybe replay it, I guess, yeah.
Okay, I'll replay it one more. What's going on? It's not moving. Are you doing
No, I
something?
see it moving. I see it moving.
It's slower than usual. Are you doing something?
No, doing nothing. I'll put it up if you want.
Oh, thanks.
But it's moving.
It's my
Fingers.
yeah, my fingers. Okay. Whoops. I want it at the beginning.
Oh, you have to tap at the top. I think you forgot to tap there.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, probably. Okay.
There you go.
have to. I might have to breathe at 36 because I was a bit out of breath there. Or maybe I would accelerate a little bit since the piano's not doing much there, and then I would get there a bit faster. That could be a way to do it. Okay, now I'm gonna try the second part, but I don't think I haven't played. I taught it lately, but I didn't play it since 20 years. Like play it. So I think I can't play it the normal tempo right away. So how do I do that? I press on minus here.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had to press that thing. Maybe if I start there. Of course, it's not like learning it the first time. If you're learning it the first time, you'll have to really look at it slowly and make sure you take your time, and maybe you just do a few lines a day so you learn them well. I prefer to learn 2-3 lines well in one day, and when I'm tired and my brain cannot learn anymore, I stop and I come back later, because I don't want to learn mistakes, because then you have to undo the mistake and relearn, and that takes a lot of time. Another thing, when I make a mistake, let's say I do a sharp and there was no sharp, I write it right away, like that it's a natural or that in my part, so I don't lose time playing the same mistake over and over again. And yeah, I used to be a bit stubborn. I think it was a pride thing. Oh no, I don't need to write it, I'll remember. And I used to lose a lot of time being too proud. So now I don't have time for pride like that, and I just write it down. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back. Let's say so it starts with this thing. Okay. So on those accents you should vibrate right away to give it a little what's the word I'm looking for, brilliance, you know, a little bit of shiny type of sound, I think. So that's a bit tricky rhythmically, this thing, because you have the ta ta ka ta ka ta ka ta. Okay, so on 56 you have the G that is the same G as you were playing before, that's just continuing on the first 16th note, and then the F sharp is slurred to that G, but then you start tonguing, so you'll start on the ta 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 ka ta ka ta ka ta. Okay, so you'll go ta ka ta ka ta after that, and you have to subdivide in your head. Ta 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 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1. You have to start subdividing on your on bar 55 when you're playing that half note. You start subdividing in your head. G G G G 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 ta 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 ta. So you know where you're going. And when you play it with the piano is doing the 16th notes, so it's easy. You listen to them and then you go at that same speed. So that's supposed to help. Yeah. And that thing, you know, you have to learn the notes. What can I say? It's the same as what I said before. You can change the you can change the rhythm and the articulations and play it in different ways and go backwards and forwards, and also sometimes analyze it a little bit. So the first beat, it's chromatic, and then you go down the same as a C major scale all the way down to the low E, and then it's chromatic again, chromatic scale. So you see here, chromatic, and then from there, from that E, you go just C major scale. And then when you go back to that low D, you go chromatic. So if, yeah, I think it's all that. Yeah. So when you see things as groups like that, it becomes easier for your brain than trying to figure out each note. So chromatic until the E, then you go down C major until the other E, and then chromatic again. So that should help. Okay, now I'll continue. Okay, so here you see on 68. Okay, I'll lower it. I thought you were doing that. So on 68, you start with the E minor arpeggio, so E, G, B, okay? All the way from the high B to the low G, and then you have a little chromaticism with the F sharp, and then you go on the E, and you go up a G major scale. From E to G, you have a F sharp, everything else is natural, so you see, if you say I'm not interested in learning theory, or I'm not interested in practicing scales and arpeggios, well, when you look at music and you can see it like that, instead of reading each note, you can see like the bigger words or, you know, phrases for, oh, that's an arpeggio, oh, that's a scale, I know that, then it gets easier. So that's why we practice those things, because then we can group elements, you know. No question?
No, about the piece, it's just a lot of people saying it's awesome, and a lot of people are in. Herman's in, and a bunch of other people are.
Hi, Herman.
Victor and Zabeth, all these people. A lot of people from Portugal, Brazil, and all over the place.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
All this summer we ate a lot of natas. Nata? Pastéis de nata. Because you talk about Brazil, you talk about Portugal.
Portugal, yeah.
And here in Montreal, there's a couple of little Portuguese based bakery. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we ate a lot of those this summer, so we're thinking about Portugal. So I said it about bar 67 or 8 in that region, and then at 74 it's the same, you know, you're in G major again, you know, or E minor natural, but let's just keep it simple, G major. So you just think you have an F sharp, so you know where you start and where you finish, and you have an F sharp, you do all the notes, so it's easier to think like that. So G, A, G, and then you start on E and you go E, F sharp, and you go all the way doing all the notes, not all the notes because it's not chromatic, but like E, F sharp, G, A, all the way to the high G, and you don't have to think about it. So I'd like to see, like, if people start grouping like that, and if it's a new concept for you, and I'd like to know if it's helping, you know, to group elements, if it's a new thing for you. And always the same thing, you can practice at different speeds, you know. With the students, what I do, where's my metronome? Oh, can you give it to me? It's just next to you. Thanks. Let's say they have a problem with the 74. Well, I'll put it very slowly. And then here, okay. And then I'll be like, then we go a bit faster. And also it's a good idea to give it a little, you know, like you sit a little bit on each beat, and then a bit faster again. And so on and so on. If at one point it becomes too fast, we go back slowly, and then we come back faster, you know. Keep your fingers close, it will help. What else was I thinking? Yeah, and you know, in that piece you have a lot of those elements that start on the second 16th note of the beat, you know, like 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. So you have to subdivide in your head 1 2 3 4 da 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 da. Okay, so it's a sensory thing. Rhythm, music in general is very sensory, so you have to feel it. It's not just an intellectual thing, it's something you have to feel. So you can, you know, walk on it, or even yeah, you have to feel those subdivisions, you know, the rhythms in the rhythms. I think I'm gonna make a few videos about, you know, using a tennis ball. You can go 1 and da 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 da. You know, you can feel all those subdivisions inside the pulse, you know. So yeah, because sometimes people start a little bit late or a little bit early on those things, and then it's tough for the what's the word? I'm so sorry. It disturbs the rhythm. Yeah, because the pulse is not in the right spot anymore. But what I said in the beginning of listening to the piece and being aware of what's going on rhythmically and reading it, sometimes it really helps with that. So it's again that sensory part of it. So I guess I'm at 80 now. means you can play both ways. And then you know, all those things, different speeds, all that. Okay, I'm continuing. So it's chromatic until the B, and then it's not chromatic. It's diatonic after. So chromatic, it's all the notes, and diatonic, it's each note, but not each note of a scale, of a normal major or minor scale, but not each semitone. Okay, so here at 92, you go chromatic from D sharp to B, and then you go down as if it's a E minor. It's E minor. You go back to the B and then to the E, but you go back up on a E minor melodic scale, and then you start on the A and you just have the C sharp and you go up that scale, like what would, I guess it could be D minor harmonic, or just it's just a major chord, G. But just, you know, group things like that. You have this one, you have a C sharp, and that's it. So I see groups like from the D sharp to the B, and then from that B to the other B, and then bar 92, 93 is a whole word that goes all the way to the first note of 94, and then bar 94 from the A to the other A is another word, and I group them like that. Okay, so that's good. And you have pretty much the same type of thing at 101. It's the same thing, but it starts on another note, but it's the same, yeah, same motive, but on another note. So now we go on 107. Oh yeah, that I didn't remember so well. That's because I worked on that before. Okay, so that, you see, I'll have to work on it because I was not able to play it. But you know, I already learned that before in my life, so it's not like I have to start from the beginning. If I was starting from the beginning, I would take way more time to play that. So you see here, E minor arpeggio. It's pretty much that, and then you have little accidentals that come in. But so you can see 107. It's E minor, and then you just have an F sharp. That's just a passage note that goes back on the E minor arpeggio, and then on 109 it's still E minor, and then you have an A that's also just a passage note because it's part of the motive. He finishes his motive with a little passage note to bring you to the next part of the arpeggio that's still E minor, and then he adds a C sharp there, so it's C sharp, E, G, B, and you just play that non-stop, and then he adds a D at the end, and then there's another motive that goes da 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 da. So you have a whole tone at 113, and then a semitone, and then always the same type of thing almost. So you can see it as little words like that. So that's it for that. Then the other part, you know, it's expressive. I think there, the difficulty we could have is to kind of cut the phrase, because we want to do those different. I'll give you an example of cutting the phrase. You see, I lose the horizontality of the phrase.
There is a question.
Yeah.
Herman wants to know, are you tonguing the low register a bit different than the upper register, da instead of ta?
Wait. I'm not sure. I don't think so. Maybe sometimes. Wait. I think the airspeed makes it sound different, because when there's more airspeed,
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
it sounds a bit more.
Airspeed and energy, yeah. Energy and yeah.
But maybe when I go in the low register, I send cold, warm air, so it's more like, and everything goes back a little bit, even my tongue. So maybe it's a bit less.
So maybe
in the
slower.
front.
So maybe like slower air, but more voluminous air, I guess. Because slow air means warm air.
Yeah.
And then.
In the low register.
But I guess a lot of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but I think when I play in the low register, I make like that type of cave. Do you feel like that? Like, you make a.
Yeah, sometimes I just feel that I'm spreading it wider, but not faster.
Yeah, wider.
Yeah, like more surface
and
mass,
slower.
more surface area, and slower. Yes, more surface area.
But maybe I put my tongue. I think I put my tongue a little bit more in the bottom and back, maybe. So maybe that's why maybe it's not as in front going.
Maybe you're also tonguing, not harder, but with more pressure, so the tongue covers more.
No, the front of the tongue is pretty much the same. Okay. It's more in the back that I go la 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 la. Like I think there's something going on there. It's not easy to know, huh? No, I don't think I tongue differently, but it does sound different a little bit, because the airspeed is not the same. So then, you know, tonguing, it's like this. I use this image of water. You know, you play with the hose, and then if you have a lot of water speed and you go schluck, you get a big sound. But if you use slower air or water, you'll get less of the schluck sound, you know, of the attack when you cut it with your hand. So I guess it's probably why it sounds different. But you know, can't be sure. You would have to put me in a machine and look at what I do inside the mouth while I'm playing. That would be the only real scientific way to be sure. But I try not to think too much about changing things. I try to keep like a good middle ground, and then there's little adjustments that are being made, but I don't try to control them too much. I let them happen. Yeah. It might not be helpful that I'm saying that though, but yeah. So I hope that was clear. Yeah, so I don't think I'm tonguing differently that much. But sometimes I use more ta and sometimes I use more da. That's for sure, but not necessarily related to the register I'm playing. Yeah, so I was talking about the phrase, you know, not cutting it. So I gave an example where I was cutting it and then now I tried to do a longer phrase. Okay, so now it's still the same type of phrasing at 127. You see, like there's those smaller words, but they have to be put together in a full sentence, you know. So now 135. You see here, again, arpeggios. D major arpeggio on 135, and then C major arpeggio on 136, 7. Yeah, so. And same thing after, at 140, you have E flat major arpeggio, and then 141, D flat major arpeggio. So, and you can work them the same way I said for all the rest. Okay, so now Expressivo again. Okay, so when you have those da 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 da, yeah, I think it would be easier there to go with Herman. Maybe you're onto something there, because I think I do more da 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 because it's easier for that slow air to move forward than if I go taka taka ta and I'm kind of disturbing the air with my tongue. That's how I feel, anyways. Like maybe another flutist would say otherwise, but that's how I feel. So dogo 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 do. Yeah, yeah. There I do dogo dogo. Not sure about the other spot, but there I do it. And then that ta 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 ha 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 ta. That's a bit difficult sometimes on the tonguing, but I think those accents they help. So you have to sit on those accents. You know, and you can practice them without it, you know, just to learn the notes. Start like that, you know. And then you add the tongue. And it doesn't have to be the same day, you know, you have to be patient. And patience is usually rewarded, I think. Because when we try to go too fast, sometimes it's, you know, we learn mistakes, we get tired and all that stuff. Yeah, and here too, he does arpeggios and he changes them a little bit. He goes from one to the other. But you can see he starts A major, and then he goes F sharp major, and he stays like that for 2 bars, and then at 158 it's A diminished fifth, you know, and then he goes on a B flat. But try to group like those elements of 3 notes that are repeated, so it's less on your brain. Okay, I continue. So now I'm at 165. Okay, I'll just put it like this because I'm almost, oops. Okay, I'll start at 165. practice that. Okay. You know that other part that I just played. It's the same thing with the words. You know, try to figure out what's going on there by analyzing it a little bit. You know, let's say 168 F major, and then A minor the next bar, and then you have a little thing in G major. You go around the G, and then you have this part that's more like E minor. You know, see things as little groups, and it ends with a minor arpeggio. Then at 176, you have a big scale, and you start tonguing directly on the second 16th note. So you'll have to start on ka. So it's kata kata. Because if you start on ta, you'll be mixed up for the whole thing. So it's kata 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 kata. Okay, that's okay with no yeah, it's clear. And here it's just think you're like in C major, you know, nothing, and then at the end you get chromaticism from F to A, and then A minor arpeggio. Maybe it's not going to be okay today, but if I was playing it in concert, I'd be like, okay for today, and then I go back to it later. So that, you know, open sound and long phrase and using vibrato and all that. Okay, then at 192, it's pretty intense. A lot of okay, so I try to see it, those little things, as, let's say 192. Okay, you have G, E, and C. So it's like a C major chord, and then you just have a semitone under, as if it was a grace note almost, you know, as if it was, but it's not, it's, but that's how I see it in my head, so I have, again, less things to think about. I'm not sure if that's what's written in my other part. 197. Ah, yeah. I don't know who's right and who's wrong, but in the edition of Schirmer here, edited by Moïse, 197, it's not that. It's F sharp G B C, and here it's F sharp B A B. What would be the logic there? It would be logical, but I learned it another way before, so I'm okay. That's why when I played it, it cut me off guard. Okay, I'll play it the other way that I'm used to.
Victor just gave us $10.
That's so nice. Thank you so much.
The super chat, very nice of him.
Yeah, I forgot the G flat at one.
Right.
Yeah, I'm talking too much. My brain is, you know, it's a lot.
Those notes, you know.
Yeah, a lot of. Plus, I always think of them in French. The notes. Well, yeah, it's a bit faster for me. So 201, yeah, G flat. I wrote it down because I was not doing it. You see, that's like accelerated learning because it's not learning, it's like relearning. So when I learned it the first time when I was young and I didn't see things that clearly back then. Oh, here's a D major arpeggio. It was long for me and I was seeing more note by note. It took me a long time to learn that. So don't think it's not normal if it takes you a long time. It's totally normal. Because right now I'm relearning it. Okay. And now 207. Yeah, because you heard I cracked a note. I just wanted to do it again. Okay, now I'm at the big part at 216. Okay, so there I would say don't move too much. If you start going like this to get the octave and stuff, it's going to be difficult. And also, it's, again, a very good example. You have a motive that just comes back on a different note. So there's not that much going on. You know, E minor, and then F sharp minor, and then G sharp minor, or, you know, minor thirds. It's just that, minor thirds over those notes, and then you do the octave, so the fingers don't even move. Like, I would do it slowly. That's not that much going on there. So don't overthink it, don't move too much to get, like, try to find a good sound and stay stable as much as possible. There's little movements, you know, but those, you don't have to think about them. They're just gonna occur, I think. And I don't know if you noticed when I practice the other part, I sometimes when I just want to work on fingers, I don't tongue. I just go and play the part with no tonguing, so I just focus on the fingers, and then I add tonguing everything, and then I add the articulations that are written there, you know. Okay. I'm going from 220. Oh, here, I'll put it there. Yeah. Okay, again. practiced it kata 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 because by tonguing I wasn't happy with it. Okay, I just remembered, like at 224 and 226, I do tahakata tahakata kata kata because it's a bit fast for me to do tahatata, and then my tongue sometimes gets. So check if it helps for you. Some people have such a fast single tonguing, but I like double tonguing a lot. I'll just do that part slowly, and then I'll do the ending. Wait, sorry. Okay, I'll do it slowly once. I think I'm gonna try to play it, the second part, maybe once slower, and then I'll play the whole thing at tempo maybe. What do you think? Yeah?
Yeah, let's do that, then we'll have questions.
Yeah. Well, while I'm putting that up, you can ask me one question.
Oh.
You're doing something at the same time as I am?
Sorry, go ahead, do your stuff. Well, they're all pretty long questions, like, that are about other stuff.
Okay. Takes a while.
I think it's at 90, I think, somewhere around
Can
90.
you do it? Maybe it's gonna be faster if you do it.
Almost there. Yeah, I think it's there. Maybe not. Oh yeah, it is that. I think. Yep. Here we go.
Okay. You can click play if you want. Thanks.
click your ring finger on the left hand to start tonguing on the low C sharp?
No,
No.
but I know it's a good trick. It works. I don't do it often. My first flute teacher used to do that and tell me to do that. Yeah, it's a good idea to do it. You can yeah, it can help, but you just have to make sure you're really super synchronized. But yeah, it helps. Do you do it sometimes?
No.
No. Some people do.
No, but sometimes a lot of people do. Like, yeah, it all depends. Yeah. I've heard of that trick though. Yeah. It's a good one.
So now we do the real tempo.
Yeah, we'll do
the whole thing.
Whatever it asks. Oh, if you want. Yeah.
I can play the whole thing once.
Okay.
I'll do my best.
Then we'll answer some questions.
Yes.
We have a lot of good ones. Almost there. There we are.
I'll try to follow there because I get very attached to my own music. You know, when I learn a piece on a piece of paper, then I write little things and all those, and then you know I get attached to it, and then playing there for me it's difficult. Not difficult, but it's a challenge. Yeah. Okay.
Nope.
Whoops.
Why did it do that? Hold on. Finish.
It should go back to the
It will go
beginning.
back, yeah. I just moved it all the way there and I forgot to double click. There it goes. Ah,
Yay.
technology. cool.
Yeah. You see, for me it's difficult because I'm really reading. I don't know it by heart, and and there's a lot of notes, and I'm trying to read. I read a little bit ahead.
Yeah,
So I'm trying to read the next line, and then it moves.
Right. Maybe that's why it's reading through.
Yeah, next time I'll play.
Listen to the track.
Next time I'll play with my music, because when it's that fast, some places my
Yeah.
eyes were working very hard.
Yeah, working very hard.
It was a bit tough for me.
Cool.
And you see, also like just one place, it's not written like in my part, like the high B at
like 200 something.
no, at 111. It's not written the same way, and it disturbed me, you know.
Right.
But thanks. We're fragile creatures.
Yeah, right,
Little
exactly.
thing.
Yeah.
Like the B is never. My brain took 1 second to be like, oh, it's different, and then, you know.
Yeah, totally.
But that's good to do it. Then let's say I was playing for a concert, I would write down. Oh, practice those from there to there, because you had a little thing there, you know.
Okay, that was really good. Anyways, a lot of people love it. They're very impressed, and it's a great piece. It's very fun.
Yeah, it's a fun piece.
This is George wants to know: do you perhaps have any tips and tricks to improve my double tonguing at runs? My fingers always get tied up, and my tongue is just lazy. My exams are in less than 2 months, and I'm freaking out.
Okay, it's difficult when I don't see the person.
Right.
Okay, when I see, sometimes I can tell right away. Okay, sometimes tonguing doesn't work because there's too much movement here. You know, if the flute is moving, you know, it has to be like a mask, and then you go, but it's not seen outside that you're tonguing. Now, the double tonguing, start by practicing ka 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 ka, and then kata kata, and then taka taka, and practice it everywhere. Taka 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 taka.
And even at different tempos.
You know, slowly, fast, and then, you know, usually start slowly. Taka 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 taka, and do it all the time. You know, so your tongue gets used to that movement. Taka 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 taka. You know, it's a sensory thing. It's like you learn how to walk, you fall, you go back. You know, it's a sensory thing. You have to do it a lot. And then, what are you playing in those exams that have double tonguing?
I don't know. Yeah, let us know in the comments, and we'll get back to you. Yeah, that would help.
But let's say you're okay. You can practice scales double tonguing. You can practice a G1. You know, a G1 and Tafanel et Gobert. Any exercise, you know. Start slowly, you know, like, or even use a metronome. Do it super slowly to make sure you're really doing ta ka. We're back?
I think we're back.
Are we back?
I think we might be back. Yeah, I'm just gonna try to answer that question again. Start from
Okay.
the beginning. I think.
So someone asked about, So someone asked about double tonguing and fingers, and I think synchronization. And I would say first thing, the person said, my fingers are lazy and all those things. First thing I would say is stop saying those things. Your fingers are not lazy. You know, you're in a process of learning, and you're where you are, and you're gonna do things to get better, and that's all. Because if you start programming your brain saying my fingers are lazy, you're gonna have a self-fulfilled prophecy of lazy fingers. It's not helping you. Okay, so you should not say those things, and just try to observe. Maybe play and try to observe, are your fingers going very high or are they close to the keys? All types of little things like that. We have a video about fingers, where I explain to keep the fingers close, to use a little bit of rotation to help the fingers, all those things. And we have a video about double tonguing as well that's pretty clear. You should look into it, and you should also be careful about what you tell yourself, because you don't want to limit yourself, because sometimes we are the big limiters, whatever, of our progress, because we convince ourselves, or sometimes some teachers say, oh, you have lazy fingers, or I don't think so. Fingers are able to move pretty fast, and if you can do this fast and you can do this fast, it's just the sensory thing that your body needs time to learn. That's all.
Okay, that emotional oboist wants to know, I'm in marching band, I play piccolo. Any tips on getting a good attack on high notes, like rolling in or out or something, or just blowing your brains out?
Don't blow your brains out. It's a small instrument. Probably airspeed, like having a good air stream going very steady, keeping the embouchure like a mask, and it's ready before you give the attack. Everything's already in place, and then it starts. It's not, because I see people doing stuff like this. There's a movement going after they start playing. No, you put everything in place. The tongue is even there, and then you remove the tongue, and it's like, the masks, everything's there, and air is the whole, it's the big thing when you play the flute. Air, you have to have air support all the time, and if you have air support and you go, and remember, it's when you release the tongue that the articulation happens. It's not when you hit with the tongue, it's when you release. So I think that could help. But if you play the oboe, you probably don't need that much air. You're going to need more air when you play the flute or the piccolo. Even though the piccolo is small, it still needs some air and some air pressure.
What else is there? I'm working on my getting fixed. Yeah, they said it was all helpful. I can't see the rest of the beginning of the first chat. I know the emotional oboist also had another question at the beginning, but I couldn't catch it because I don't see it anymore because of the technical issues. I think that's all the questions. If you guys have any quick questions, shoot them out right now. If not, Amelie can talk about the Flute Center in New York. You can talk about the studio is open as well too. We have some flute lessons. I know Herman is the person, one of the people in the chat is also in your studio, and we actually met another person. Luc St. Louis was at the concert, and he gave us a couple things that we're going to show on the Flute podcast later next week. But you met him. He was awesome. Everybody was cool.
Awesome. I didn't get to talk to him that much because
but we'll get together with him soon.
But I was very happy to see him, and I have a flute studio online on Skype or
Google Hangouts or Discord, or, whatever is your preferred means of use. If you want to use something, we'll use it as well.
So online, and it works very well. I'm quite surprised because people do a lot of progress, and I can see what's going on. I'm pretty impressed.
Very fast.
People improve a lot. I'm very happy. I love it.
How can we reach you? How can we reach us?
So
How can
just say it.
Well, no, you can say it. No, it's okay.
I always forget.
Oh yeah, you can email us at info@theflutechannel.com, and then we can set you up with package deals that we have. We have a bunch of cool little deals for different types of amounts of lessons that you want to take. You can also just take one single lesson as well too, if you want, to have Amelie listen in on you, and it's really a cool, fun hour with her, and it's very much like what we have right now, but even more.
Yeah, because there's both way communication. And then what else? If you're looking for a flute, we have a deal with the Flute Center of New York, and you go at flutesforsale.com, the number 4, and they have the largest selection in the world, and you can use our code. Please use our code TFC, because it helps us, and also for you it gives you some perks, a longer trial, more flutes that you can try, and it's important to try a couple flutes, so at least try them before you buy them. So
yeah, they make it pretty easy for that, so they can try them and then you mail them back, and yeah, it's all taken care of on both sides. You can go and call them as well and mention us as well, because they are all flutists there. They all know about the flute, and they've got
the code
everything.
Works on the phone,
yeah, it
online,
works everywhere.
anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so here's the emotional oboist is wondering, any tips about being in an orchestra? I've done band, but I've gotten first chair in a youth orchestra, so any tips for an orchestra with strings and stuff? So what are your tips for that when you first go in? What should you look out for, I guess, or what should you
well, I guess in orchestra, intonation is a big thing.
Yeah, but you're working almost right beside each other, which is actually pretty amazing.
Yeah,
and you guys have to work together. It's not, the conductor doesn't really think about that and tell you. You guys have to tell each other.
Yeah, and you help each other, and you try to find the other one. And it's not about who's right. It's not about who's right when it comes to intonation. Like, I'm right, he just has to follow me. No, it's about being in tune, kind of being out of tune together type of thing. So listening a lot. And yeah, knowing your part and listening to the piece that you're gonna play before is helpful. Maybe even put a recording and look at your music and where things are going on, and even play it with the recording. Maybe to like preparation, I think, is a good thing. And then communication between musicians, especially your section. Let's say your first flute, you're gonna have to work with first oboe, first clarinet. Sometimes first bassoon, like that section usually is together, all those types of things. And sometimes you might be surprised. Sometimes I remember playing second flute, and I had a lot of stuff with horn. I was listening because I had the same notes in a lot of pieces, and I was listening to them, trying to match them. So it's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's, I would say, would be the biggest thing too.
And always keep an eye on the conductor. Having in your peripheral vision. Yeah.
Oh yeah, your peripheral vision, totally.
Yeah.
That's a great thing.
Because you need to look at your music but still see him in the back, Yeah. And listen. Yeah, open your ears.
And yeah.
Blend.
So, exactly, and to blend.
Blend with others.
So yeah,
like one big sound.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the Flute Center of New York, flutesforsale.com, our studio, info@theflutechannel.com if you want to have lessons with Amelie, and that's pretty cool. And then what other questions we got here? We got nothing else. Everybody else is pretty happy here. Everyone liked the live stream, and yeah. So you wanna?
So I hope you liked it, and if you liked it, please press the little thumb. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. And yeah, that's it for today.
Yeah, we're almost at 30,000 subscribers too. Very close. We're gonna have a big giveaway at that point. And also be sure to leave a comment down below the actual video. That also helps us tremendously as soon as the live stream is done. Let us know any questions, your feelings about the video, about the piece, what do you like about it, all types of different things. Just leave the comment down below.
Thanks for watching. See you next time.